FIFA is staring into a silent abyss that nobody dares to name. 2026 was supposed to be football's crowning achievement, the moment 48 nations and 3 hosts proved the sport had finally conquered the American spirit. But behind the glossy marketing, a darker reality is taking hold. Governments are clashing, federations are flinching, and in a move that has sent shockwaves through Zurich, a qualified nation has officially told FIFA, "We will not set foot on American soil." Stop and grasp how unprecedented this is. In 92 years of history, teams have grumbled and threatened. But never has a qualified country demanded its matches be stripped from the host nation itself. Until now, this has transcended the pitch. It's a high-stakes collision of geopolitics, immigration, and raw national identity. FIFA's public mask is one of total control, but behind the curtain, panic is the only language being spoken. They realize that if one nation breaks the line, the entire tournament could dissolve into a domino effect of defiance. The world's biggest stage is shaking, and the first ball hasn't even been kicked. The country creating the most panic inside FIFA right now is Iran, because unlike fan protests or online petitions, this situation became official. Iranian football officials reportedly made it clear they do not want their team playing group stage matches inside the United States, and suddenly FIFA found itself facing a scenario it never truly prepared for. What happens if a qualified nation refuses to enter the host country? That question sounds impossible, but football history has entered impossible territory before. The timing could not be worse. Relations between Iran and the United States have collapsed into one of the most dangerous periods in years. Political tensions, military escalation, national anger. Everything surrounding the relationship has become emotionally explosive. Now imagine being a young Iranian player. You spent your entire childhood dreaming about the World Cup, years of sacrifice, endless qualifiers, pressure from millions of fans back home. And suddenly, your biggest career moment becomes tied to international conflict. The psychological pressure alone becomes enormous. But what terrifies FIFA is not only Iran itself, it is the precedent, because once one federation openly challenges hosting arrangements, by the illusion of stability, disappears instantly. And inside world football, stability is everything. But Iran was only the beginning, because what happened next revealed something even more dangerous for FIFA. The pressure was spreading. In Europe, conversations that once sounded unthinkable suddenly became public. In the Netherlands, thousands of people supported calls questioning whether the Dutch national team should participate at all. That matters because the Netherlands is not a fringe football nation. This is one of the sport's biggest powers, a country deeply connected to football identity and international politics. And once public pressure enters football, so federations start paying attention. Quietly at first, carefully, but they pay attention. Germany saw similar discussions emerge. Political figures, football executives, public commentators, the word boycott started appearing beside the World Cup itself. Even if no official withdrawal happens, the damage is already done, because FIFA's biggest nightmare is not necessarily losing a team, it is losing confidence. The World Cup depends on emotional energy. Fans traveling across oceans, nations believing the event represents unity. But when headlines become dominated by political controversy instead of football, the atmosphere changes completely. Suddenly, the tournament stops feeling like a celebration. It starts feeling tense, fragile, divided. And that is incredibly dangerous for a competition built on spectacle. Then came another issue FIFA could not easily solve. Not governments, not federations, ordinary supporters. Because for many fans around the world, attending the 2026 World Cup is becoming increasingly difficult. Visa, uncertainty, travel restrictions, expensive flights, border anxiety, long immigration delays. Some supporters now fear they could spend thousands of dollars and still face problems entering the country, and football without supporters feels empty. Ivory Coast revealed perhaps the clearest example of this problem. Players may still be able to compete, but many supporters fear they cannot travel freely to watch their own national team. Imagine the emotional contradiction of that moment, representing your country on football's biggest stage, while many citizens from your country cannot even be there to witness it. That strikes directly at the emotional core of international football. Because the World Cup was never only about players, it was always about people. The streets, the songs, the flags, the chaos outside stadiums at midnight. remove the supporters, and something essential disappears. And then FIFA realized something terrifying. This crisis was no longer isolated. Different countries, different reasons, but all leading toward the same dangerous question. What if the world stops believing this tournament is worth the risk? For years, FIFA presented the 2026 World Cup as the tournament that would elevate football to another level, commercially, politically, and culturally. Bigger stadiums, bigger audiences, bigger revenue, bigger influence, but bigger tournaments also create bigger vulnerabilities, because once politics enters the World Cup, controlling the narrative becomes almost impossible. Every new controversy adds pressure. Every travel concern creates fear. Every protest headline spreads globally within minutes. And social media amplifies everything. One emotional video, one airport incident, one angry statement from a player or politician, suddenly the story explodes worldwide. FIFA understands this better than anyone. That is why the organization keeps publicly projecting calm. Calm protects sponsors, calm protects broadcasters, calm protects ticket sales. But underneath that calm, the uncertainty is growing, because nobody truly knows how public opinion could shift if one major nation suddenly escalates its position closer to kickoff. And there is another side to the story that almost nobody is discussing publicly: the locker room itself. Because when politics enters a tournament this aggressively, players do not simply leave those emotions outside the stadium gates. They carry them onto the pitch, into training sessions, into press conferences, into every moment of the competition. Imagine the pressure on coaches trying to keep squads mentally focused while global headlines constantly question whether the tournament should even be happening in its current form. One political question during a media interview can suddenly dominate an entire matchday. One controversial statement from a government official can instantly change the mood around a national team camp, and younger players are especially vulnerable to this environment. Many of them have never experienced a World Cup before. Instead of arriving with excitement and freedom, some could arrive carrying fear, tension, or national expectations far bigger than football itself. That emotional pressure changes performances. It changes chemistry. It changes tournaments. We have seen it before in international football history. The teams that survive chaotic World Cups are often not the most talented teams, but the teams emotionally capable of handling the noise surrounding them, and the noise surrounding the 2026 World Cup is already becoming deafening. FIFA hoped this tournament would symbolize football's unstoppable global growth. Instead, it risks becoming the moment the modern game fully collided with geopolitical reality. And if controversies continue growing after kickoff, every single incident inside stadiums could suddenly become international news within minutes. A protest in the stands, security problems outside a venue, fans denied entry, political banners, angry supporters confronting police. In previous tournaments, those moments were isolated headlines. In 2026, they could become defining images of the entire World Cup itself. Maybe none of these nations withdraw. Maybe the tournament begins exactly as scheduled. Maybe packed stadiums and dramatic football eventually overpower every controversy surrounding it. That is still possible, but something important has already changed forever. For the first time in modern football history, the World Cup itself has become part of a global political argument before the opening match even begins, and once that door opens, it never fully closes again. FIFA wanted the biggest World Cup ever created. Instead, it may have created the most politically complicated tournament football has ever seen, because the modern World Cup is no longer only about football. It is about borders, governments, identity, global perception, and power. The football will eventually begin, the anthems will play, the stadium lights will turn on, but hanging over everything will be one uncomfortable reality. The question is no longer whether the 2026 World Cup will be historic. The question is what kind of history it is about to make.